presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of
Comic Dorks.
Thrilling adventure, intense excitement, pounding action, and spine-tingling mystery.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Dorks. This is Comic Dorks episode, I want to say 9. Yeah, I'm right. It's 9. Hey, everybody, it's Scott Johnson here. Joining me, Mr. Steven Schleicher from Major Spoilers. Hello, Steven.
Hello, hello.
We are shy 2 of us tonight because... yeah, I know, right? Here's my bet. Here's my guess. I'm going to just take a little bit of a guess here. I know that Mark he's got a book and a deadline, and he got called by his publisher and has to, like, crank that thing through some sort of crazy Play-Doh fun factory.
Oh, yeah. I've been there, done that.
Yeah, you know what this is like.
Yeah, I had one just a couple of weeks ago. They called me at the last minute. We got to completely redo this chapter. And I was like, oh, great.
Yeah, that's no good. So because of that, he is tied up with that. Scott Kurtz, though, here's my theory on him. He was all good at the top of the week. Everything was ready. Haven't been able to get him for the last 20 minutes. Here's what I believe. I believe he's at Star Trek. That's what I think.
Oh, that's right.
I could be wrong. But, you know, open last night at midnight. And tonight's a really good night to go if you want to go. You beat the crowds, and it's a little less crazy than the weekend.
Well, and a lot of people this weekend have graduation stuff going on.
Yeah,
so that's going to keep, this might be the only night to see it beyond late Saturday night.
Yeah. So if you're going to go, now's a good time. But I think he forgot. I think he just plumb spaced it. And you know what? It's Star Trek, damn it. I understand.
Oh, yeah. So do I.
Yeah, I would probably be there, too.
I would probably be there, too, if I didn't have to do this. Wait a minute. See you, Scott.
Our priorities are jacked up.
Are you super excited about Star Trek?
I really am. I'm more excited about this than I am pretty much any other movie this year, although Man of Steel probably comes the closest and maybe ties it for excitement. But
I think I'm still gun shy on that.
I am, but I'm not. And then you ask me tomorrow, and I might feel the opposite. Like I'm kind of back and forth. Like there's so much playing potentially against Man of Steel,
right?
That you have to you don't want to be disappointed. You just so much want to just go in there and have them do it all right and just nail all the beats that they need to make that character right and everything. But then you go, well, Zack Snyder, you love 300, you love the. I really liked his his Dawn of the Dead? Was it?
I forget which one he did.
Whatever it was, that remake was great in 2004. I really liked his treatment of Watchmen. I thought it was great. I know there was some split on that, but I think it was rad. And I hated with a passion that Sucker Punch business.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was real bad. I thought, and so
story wise, visually is beautiful.
Yeah, it was incredible visually. Yeah. But it was one of those movies where I went, uh-oh, they forgot. Yeah. They got the visuals, so they forgot what matters here. They screwed up the rest of it. Right. So it's really only one ding against him in terms of director. Don't know enough about Superman himself. Don't know enough about that actor. I always forget his name. What's his name?
Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, he's a WoW player, so there's some points.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Almost missed his casting call for this because he was playing WoW.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great story about that. He apparently in some interview described how he was in the middle of a raid and got a call back from, I want to say it was Christopher Nolan or it may have been Zack Snyder directly, saying, hey, come on over. We think you're our Superman. And he didn't get up to get the call because he didn't want to leave his friends. He ended up getting it anyway, but
Well, hopefully when the movie comes out, people aren't saying, yeah, you should have just stuck playing the WoW.
Yeah, dude. What are you thinking? So hopefully,
I don't know. It's just like, how you eat something really good for a long time and then all of a sudden you eat it and it's really terrible.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, do I eat that again? That kind of thing. That's kind of how I feel about it after Superman Returns.
It's like a sushi place. You're like, I could eat here every day. And then you do. And then third day in, you're like, I don't ever want to eat here ever again.
Yeah.
And you're right. You're right. So I'm actually kind of staying away from all things Man of Steel since that last good trailer because I just I don't want to have this wish-wash in my head anymore. I just want to get in there, see it raw, and walk away with whatever we're going to walk away with.
What excites you about Star Trek? And again, by the time that most people listen to this, they've already seen it.
Well, for me, it's actually kind of a simple thing. It's a simple trust thing where I've yet to not like a J.J. Abrams film. I loved Mission Impossible 3. I really liked Lost. I really liked other stuff he's not necessarily been directly involved with, but like executive producer on stuff like Fringe and things.
Right. Wasn't he involved with Alias?
He was. That was his thing. He directed a ton of that and wrote it, and that was his big thing, really. Because before that, what was the college girl one before that? Jeopardy. I can't. My brain isn't working tonight. But it was Felicity.
Oh, right,
Felicity. That was his other business, and even that I liked. So I loved 2009's reboot, and and I really liked Super 8. I thought Super 8 was awesome. So I don't have any compunction to be worried about J.J. Abrams at the helm.
Yeah.
I think that's really in its favor. And the early reviews are strong. That's in its favor. And I really like what they've done with it. I like Chris Pine. I like the direction they're taking it. Even if they step on some old established Star Trek tropes and retune them to do something else, I think I'm okay with all of that. I mean, what do I want to do? Die with nothing but 60s era crappy TOS? No. I want something new. So all those things I think work in its favor. And I really have pretty much no reason to think this is going to suck. I think it's going to be fine.
I think it'll be exciting. It's again, whenever it gets to this time of the year with big movies coming out that I'm real excited about, I try to restrain myself and say, okay, it's not going to be that good.
Yeah.
Whatever you think it's going to be, it's not going to be that good. That way, when I go in and I just go in going, okay, I know that there's going to be a giant MacGuffin through here that Abrams is going to giant red, pool of whatever floating in space.
Right.
If I go in knowing that I'm going to be disappointed in some way, shape, or form, usually I come out very excited and happy with the end.
So if J.J. Abrams has a MacGuffin in every movie, let's just break that down. So there's the big red matter thing.
Yeah.
That was pretty MacGuffin-y for sure.
And he's used that. He even used that in Alias.
Yeah, that's true.
The red matter, yeah.
Yeah, and they used the smoke monster in Lost.
Yes.
And I would argue that even Super 8 was the MacGuffin there.
The monster was the MacGuffin.
Yeah, he kind of was, although I know a lot of people didn't like the monster. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. People wanted it to be something else or something bigger or something more or whatever, but I liked that it was just raw ass. I want to get the hell out of here, and you people have had me trapped here for 60 years kind of business going on, and I thought that was great. And there's a scene where he picks up that kid. By the way, great cast of kids. They all acted great. Yeah. He's got the chops for that. Like Spielberg before him, obviously a lot of...
Oh, yeah, a lot of homage to Spielberg.
Yeah, for sure.
Cloverfield the same way. The monster was the MacGuffin in Cloverfield.
Yeah, and those things are really hard to deal with because in the end, you either got to show them, and if you do, everyone's disappointed, or you don't show them, and everyone's disappointed.
Right.
So what do you have any... I don't have any predictions, but I wonder what the Star Trek movie's big MacGuffin is.
So we keep hearing a lot about con, not con.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that isn't the underlying spook that floats through the film.
Like they're holding that over our head.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's perhaps the teaser in the trailer, the international trailer that shows probably Spock's hand up next to glass.
Somebody's going up against the glass.
The whole "you have been and always will be my friend" business. Like that's a little bit scary for me for them to tread on that space just yet.
When was Wrath of Khan?
80.
That was the second movie. They did it in the second movie there.
Oh yeah, but then 3 got real dumb. Remember 3?
Yes, but then we had 4.
Yeah, then we had 4, and 4 got real dumb. And then 5 was real bad, and then 6 was great. And then what was 7? Generations?
That must have been Generations.
And then it was all right. It didn't, it was the worst thing I ever saw. But I didn't like how they had to wedge Kirk in there and how they killed him and all that. That was a spoiler, by the way.
Yeah. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, everyone. Go back. How long does it take you to watch that?
We actually were talking about that the other day, especially when it comes to like some of the other news we may get to here in a little bit of how long is too long to hold a spoiler?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Is there like a statute of limitations where we feel like is the best zone to be in? And I'm sure this has been discussed before, but if it's me, I want to say, at some point after DVD / pay-per-view / whatever home release.
Oh, really?
To me, that's an okay time to do it. Definitely more than, let's say, the way the cycle works now, you could almost say that could be less than a year.
Yeah.
But let's say, so this new Star Trek comes out. Let's say in there's a giant, there's a whale to save, and that's the big surprise. Okay, that'd be the stupidest thing ever. But let's say it was up in space, right? And Scotty talking to a mouse and asking the computer to do something real dumb like that. Oh, that was so stupid. Anyway, so let's say that happens, and I'm not to tell anyone about that because I want everyone to be surprised and enjoy the movie unspoiled, which I did, by the way, with Cabin in the Woods. Went in with zero idea what I stayed away from it somehow. I could tell from the poster art that house isn't supposed to be doing the Rubik's Cube thing it's doing, so I knew there was like some kind of twisty hoo-ha going on, like manipulation storyline. Had no idea about any of the rest of it or any of the homages or how funny it would be or any of that. That movie.
So it's actually a good movie.
I loved it. I freaking loved it. That's Joss Whedon's dialogue to a T. It's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, you should see it, dude. That came out like what, 2 weeks before?
Like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks before Avengers, like last year.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, Joss Whedon, double whammy, he's doing that. And then right after that, Avengers comes out. And then he wasn't directing it, but he co-wrote it with his longtime Angel/Buffy collaborator. What's his name? Can't remember his name. And he directed it. And it's got Thor in it.
Right.
And some other stuff. But it is, if you have any, even a slight bit of appreciation for like slasher movies of the 80s and an appreciation for Joss Whedon's dialogue and for him to take those tropes and turn it into something kind of new and different, it's great. And it's on Netflix. You should watch it.
Well, so in the case of Iron Man 3, that just came out a couple of weeks ago.
Let's talk about that, yeah.
So the big reveal about the Mandarin.
Yes.
Is that the thing that you need to hold?
Yeah. See, I think yes. I say you hold that one until Christmas when the DVDs hit.
I don't know. I guess it just depends on what you're...
Well, unless you're us or you and we have a podcast and we warn people.
Right.
But if you're with a bunch of buddies or something,
as I kind of said the other day, it's real easy for me to take in something and then immediately forget it. Or just push it in the back of my mind and not dwell on it. Because I had known that this Mandarin reveal wasn't the big to-do that everybody was building it up to be. So when I went into the movie, I kind of knew what was going on, but I just sat down and still enjoyed the movie for what it was, even though I had been spoiled on this little segment of the movie.
Were you okay with that transition when it happened? Did you feel?
Oh, I thought I knew what it was going in. So when they revealed it, I loved how they revealed it. I thought it was hysterical.
I did too.
And we saw in the trailer all the Iron Man suits show up.
Yeah.
That's kind of spoilery because it happens at the end of the movie.
That's true.
But it's all out of context.
Well, you could have bylaws and you could have exceptions and amendments to the spoiler law. Because you could say like, well, if they show it in the trailer, not a spoiler, or these kinds of things. But for the most part, if it's something big, and I'm trying to think of a movie where it mattered, and I keep going back to the crying
Citizen
game
Kane.
where dude
Citizen
had a wiener.
Kane.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Citizen Kane.
It's been 50 years and people still get upset every time I tell them it's a slap.
I know, dude.
Oh, you wish you would have told me ahead of time. Dude, it's been 50 years.
You've got time. You weren't even born when it came out. You've had time. Anyway, so let's stay on Iron Man 3 for a second. I had a ball with it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's the definition of a popcorn movie. It is not any more deep than anything else they've done with Iron Man, and that's fine because I don't think that's what that movie was trying to be.
Right.
So how'd you feel about all that?
I agree with you completely. This is a fun movie. This is a movie that you should sit down and just watch and just enjoy it for what it is. It's not some deep introspective look into the mind of what makes a man or a Superman or an Iron Man. But it is just a movie that is enjoyable. It's the same. James Bond is the same way. James Bond doesn't have to be deep and heavy. It's just a guy getting laid and blowing up stuff. And that's what Iron Man is. Yeah. It's a guy who's out there fighting the good fight and beating up the bad guy and doing a little loving, and that's all you need to know.
Drinking a little bit, yeah. Although they don't focus on that the way they.
No, in fact, they actually stay away from it completely, and I think that was a little bit of Disney's influence because originally, from what I understand, if you believe the internet rumors, that originally they were going to focus even more on Demon in the Bottle storyline and Tony's alcoholism, but then Disney was like, remember, we're Disney.
Yeah, and I think 2 was one of the complaints about 2 was him flopping around in his suit drunk in that scene no one liked it. Well, I shouldn't say that. I liked it because I was like, all right, this is them dipping into the lore.
Right.
But I think general audiences, they thought that was a little, they don't like to see him in that light. They want our heroes to be more heroic than that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I liked it, though. I thought it was, $8 well spent. And
visuals were great. Now, did you see it in 3D or 2D?
It's 2D. Avoided the 3D because everybody I had gotten some advance warning from people saying it was just useless 3D. Scott Fletcher, who the listeners may be familiar with, his immediate reaction was IMAX was awesome, but the 3D was a waste. It was stupid. We didn't need it. I don't know if that's true or not, but I usually avoid 3D anyway because my eyes are weird. Yeah.
You're the same way I am.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't like wearing 2 pairs of glasses.
Yeah, it's the worst.
And then if you eat some the popcorn, you got movie butter on your fingers. Yeah. And then you go up to adjust the glasses, and suddenly you got a big old smear across.
Yeah, big old butter smear. And those things all have poop on them. They've been tested. I've been through this before. Don't trust those.
I don't return my glasses.
Yeah,
I never do.
And I do, but when I've gone, and I don't maybe I could count on 3 fingers how many times I've gone. So I guess that'd be 3.
Yeah.
But I can't not think about it when I grab that pair. I have to take some of that alcohol with me, or the, what do you call it, the hand sanitizer, and kind of rub it around the sides of the thing, because I just know there's going to be some kid's fecal matter on it.
But, there's probably some little kid who was in there 3 months ago who saw Cars or something, who had an accident on the seat.
Yeah.
And the movie theater just said, well, let's let it dry.
Yeah, of course
and
they
you're
did.
Sitting in it. You're sitting in it.
I know. I don't trust.
You're putting your coat on it.
Actually, as much as I love the theater going experience, you're a fine reminder of the terrible things that can happen.
I wrote an article years ago about what Hollywood needs to do is develop a black box that I can put in my home theater, and if I want to see Iron Man 3 in my home theater, I'll pay $45 for that movie. And I would pay $45 to sit and watch Iron Man in my home theater at the rate that I want to watch it, as loud as I want to watch it, take a pause when I need to take a pause. And if I wanted to have 5 friends over, I'd have 5 friends over to watch it.
Yeah.
And I would much prefer that over the theater going experience. Yeah. Now, a lot of people said that's never going to happen.
Right.
And then Hollywood, a couple of the studios actually proposed it, and the Theater Owners Association just raised all sorts of heck over that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's taken away their business.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, but Iron Man 3
is good.
Wonderful, wonderful movie.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I kind of look forward to we like as a family like to do the 3 sequel kind of Saturday afternoon kind of run through the whole thing. We did this with Lord of the Rings recently, which by the way is like a 12.5-hour ordeal.
Yeah, I did that right before The Hobbit. It took me 2 weekends. No, I did it all over 1 weekend, and it was brutal.
Yeah, it's a beast. It'll take every minute of time you have. But but this stuff's a little more quick eat and get out.
Yep.
Looking forward to it. All right. So there's also in the news Lego Batman the movie. Now forget about the video game for a minute, or the sets you can buy from actual Legos, physical Legos. Heaven forbid people actually go out and build something with their kids.
Oh yeah.
The video games did well. There's a sequel even, Lego Batman 2, which is currently on sale on Steam today. Although Steam is not sponsoring the show, so do what you want with that information. But apparently they're making a movie. I assume it's animated. Do you know what's going on with this?
It is actually out. It's actually available right now if you have iTunes.
Yeah.
I actually was flipping through last night because I was going to watch Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
And I saw that it was there. And in my mail today, Warner Brothers sent me a review copy.
Oh.
And we're going to sit down with my oldest this weekend, and we're going to watch it. What's cool in this box set, depending on which one you get it, comes with a minifig. And I don't know if you can see this, Scott. I just turned on my camera.
Oh, yeah, I do now. Yeah.
It's got a little Clark Kent ripping open his shirt to reveal Superman underneath there.
Yeah.
Minifig that comes with it. And I thought that was mighty, mighty cool. So I took that out of the box.
How many? Just Superman or Batman in there too?
No, it just comes with Superman. The big thing in this one is, and kind of the hook on the DC Superheroes Unite game is that Batman finally has to go and ask other people for help.
I see.
Right. And there's a new trailer that came out today, I think.
Yeah.
And, it follows the same kind of corniness that you get in the game. So if people are looking for a dark, deep movie, they're not going to get it here. But if anybody watches, have you ever watched Ninjago?
I have. My son thinks that stuff's awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of along that same line, same kind of cheeky humor with a little bit of action in there too that makes it kind of interesting.
Okay. Well, I'm going to remember to follow up on the next time we do this so I can see how that was.
It's DVD comes out next Tuesday, but like I said, you can get it on iTunes right now.
I feel like that'll hit Netflix quick because they got so much DC stuff.
Oh yeah. They'll probably put it
pretty quick is my guess. So we'll see how that goes. That's Lego Batman the movie. Go check it out. Also, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. trailer. It's out. There's an extended version. This is, of course, the Joss Whedon-headed adaptation of Marvel crap on TV. It's coming to ABC, I guess.
Right. Can't wait.
And spoiler, Agent Coulson's alive. Here's a taste of it. Just a little bit at the top here.
For years, the truth was hidden.
Some young hot chick in the show, I'm sure.
Oh boy, Ming Na.
People from other times.
Is that who's talking? Is that Ming
other
Na?
worlds.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Heroes.
By the way, that Thor's hammer they show,
Yeah.
no way in hell that's Thor's hammer. That looks like fake Thor's hammer. Anyway, you know what? It looks like fun. Agent Coulson shows up. He's in charge of it. He's kind of the Fox Mulder of the group or whatever.
Well, and funny you mention that, because that's what this entire show premise feels like, is that they are out there investigating these superpowered events or strange events or mysterious events, magic events. And this team is put together to deal with some of those still yet unclassified bits and pieces. So I say throw in some X-Files, throw in some Supernatural, throw in some Veronica Mars, and I think you've got S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I said this on the morning stream, and I'll just repeat it real quick. I don't love TV shows always kind of go for the young and pretty instead of the. I'd like more Agent Coulsons in this, I guess, is what I'm getting at. People a little bit more diversity. And that's why I think, like Avengers, I would argue, does a great job of a good mix of, Ruffalo is no spring chicken, but he's perfect as Dr. Banner. I'd like to see more of that sort of thing. Instead, everybody looks like they just walked off the set of 90210. And I'm not a huge fan.
That is a little bit of a problem. I guess my thing is they have to be real careful. And maybe with Joss Whedon as the producer, executive producer on this piece, maybe they'll get this taken care of. But I've always been under the belief that you can create an entire multimedia universe around this Marvel movie universe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could have very easily, Marvel could have at the end of the Avengers movie created a 12-issue story that continued on from there. What happened to the Hulk? What happened to Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr.'s characters at the end of the Avengers? They could do the same thing if they handle it right in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where a lot of the storyline or bits and pieces of the storyline from the movies are here. There was a great little short piece called Item 47 or whatever it was. You can find it on the Avengers DVD. But it's them going after this little piece of technology that's gotten out of control. Follow up on that kind of stuff to kind of tie it all back in together so that when people, even if they're not fully invested in the entire universe, they can get bits and pieces where they want and still know what's going on. And I think it just builds a more robust universe and feel for this property.
You think we ever get like season finales where Chris Evans shows up for half an episode?
Yeah, I think that would be the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen that before. I go back and talk about the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I think it was the second season they had a movie called Indiana Jones and the Secret of the Jazz or something like that.
Yeah.
And it actually has an older Harrison Ford, older Indiana Jones showing up in this cabin in the mountains. And he recounts this tale of how he went looking for this trumpet all over Europe from when he was a little kid to his where he's at today.
So actual Harrison Ford shows up.
Actual Harrison Ford shows up, and all he does is he bookends the made-for-TV movie, where he comes in and you do the 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning of the piece where he's talking and then starts going to the story, and you follow the young boy Indiana Jones and the teenage Indiana Jones. And then by the time you get to the end of the movie, Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford is finished telling the story, and the last 5-10 minutes of the movie is Harrison Ford again.
Okay. I don't remember that.
I mean, it works. I mean, well,
that totally works. And that must have been some serious fan service at the time.
Oh yeah. At the time, because I remember going, oh yeah, I'm for sure. And this was on prime time.
Yeah.
And 2 hour, I think it was either a 2-parter or a 2-hour movie of the week. And to get Harrison Ford to do that was pretty cool. So yeah, I can see them doing that where, Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson comes in and they bleep the heck out of him while he's yelling at Coulson or whoever.
Right.
Get these mother effing Avengers off my
mother effing floating ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or like you said, any of the other characters, Thor jumping in to do something.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
You got that guy, you got Chris, what's his name in town? What's his name? Yeah, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth.
Have him come in with a real hammer this time, and let's make this happen. I like that idea.
And I know a lot of people don't agree with that assessment because they say it's too hard. You're creating a real house of cards that, one misstep on the TV show could ruin the movie franchise. Or if you don't if you don't read the comic book, then you don't understand what's going on in the movie or TV show. But I think if done correctly, for those hardcore fans, you could create something that is, like the Buffyverse, where people are just so into that they read the comics, they watch the TV show, they watch the spin-off series, they just followed that all the way through.
Yeah, and this is the Joss Whedon effect too. So you've got him doing what he does best, hopefully bringing that sort of thing. And to be fair, he always brings young, pretty people to his shows. So it's not that I shouldn't trust him for that, because I do.
I like young, pretty people.
I like young, pretty people too. Take that for what you want, everybody. Don't email me. But my bottom line with all of this is, if I get an X-Files-ish kind of approach each week to, we found a homeless guy who's levitating dumpsters.
Right.
We need to stop that and get him some help. Or, that sounds boring, but you know what I mean.
Homeless guy, stop levitating those dumpsters.
It seems like a stupid one, but to give me that week to week, because the way the comics work anyway, and even Iron Man 3 worked this way. It's like, all right, you just came back from New York, and we've got a little storyline in there about how you're having flashbacks of it, and it's giving you panic attacks, and we get that. But maybe that was a spoiler. I don't know, but they didn't dwell on that, nor did any of his buddies come swooping in to save the day when he needed it most. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how the comics work.
Yeah.
You'll have a big Avengers, event in comics, and then the very next week, an issue of Spider-Man comes out where he may have been with that Avengers mess, but now he's acting like they don't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm fine with the TV show having a moment like that and then going back to what they do and not worrying about crossing those streams. I think that would be great.
Here's the thing that I worry about. The first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be huge because all the millions of people who went and saw the movie are going to say, how is Agent Coulson still alive?
Right.
And then if it is not handled right, then next week you're going to see your audience plummet by half.
I'll bet you see a big drop anyway, but you're right, it'll be substantial enough to make the executives nervous.
Unless, now the other thing that people are always rumoring about Coulson is that he ends up playing the Vision, the robot. And that Coulson may not even know that he's an android or a life model decoy or something.
Dude, we won't find this out till like season 3 or something.
Yeah, or they stretch it out to 2 seasons before you really find out how he's back.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool if they did that, but come on. There's a Joss Whedon may have been able to think about that, but execs who are worried about bottom dollars, like, no, we need to.
Yeah.
We don't even know if you'll be back for a second season.
That's absolutely. We don't even know if you'll be back for a second week. Here's the other thing, though. I think they have a better chance of this not getting dumped, because this isn't like, all right, we'll pick up this risky pilot and see how it goes. This is Disney, who owns ABC,
right?
Who has
Avengers.
Yeah, they have vested interest in all of this stuff coexisting. Mm-hmm. I don't see them pulling this for lower than they thought ratings. I really don't. At least not. I bet we get at least a season out of it. At the worst, we get a season. At the very worst. Yeah.
Yes.
Imagine if Disney owned, Firefly, and they had a huge reason in the movie theaters to keep that going. Mm-hmm. They would not pull Firefly even for the numbers it got on Fox. They would keep it alive.
Can you believe that it took like the Avengers the entire summer to make $1 billion?
Yeah.
And Iron Man basically did it. Well, of course, it'd been out a couple of weeks internationally, but just a week or two in the U.S. and it's now right at $1 billion or just over $1 billion.
It's crazy. And by the way, all the whiners on Twitter who didn't like the 70s Grindhouse credit sequence.
I love that credit sequence. It didn't feel like it was supposed to be in place.
I loved it.
For the context of the whole movie. But when I was watching that credit sequence, I was like, oh man, if the whole movie had this vibe to it, it would have been 10 times as awesome.
I really liked it, and people have a real problem. Well, it was so jarringly different. I'm like, that's awesome. It's the point. It was a point. The point was to make it jarringly different.
Yeah.
Let's do something interesting with credits. It doesn't need to be all close-ups of people's chest emblems 20 hours again. Mm-hmm. We've done that. We've seen that. Do you think? Okay, prediction time.
Okay.
I trust your ability to rub the lamp and tell me the future.
Oh boy. Do it more than 3 times.
Do you? Yeah. Do you? It's funny. I told Brian Ibbett that the other day.
I know. I follow you on Twitter.
Oh, that's right. It was on Twitter. So it was. So the question is: we got Thor, we got Winter Soldier, we got. What's the other one coming?
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man and
Guardians of the Galaxy,
and probably Hulk. But if we look at just like the main, and I know they've been talking about Hawkeye and some other spinoffs, but let's just say, even if we just keep it to the current stable of Avengers film actors and their movies coming out, and in particular Thor and Captain America, do you see those 2 movies carrying on this tradition that Iron Man 3 has of just killing it at the box office and breaking everybody's expectations? Or are they going to just kind of be fair to Midland? They'll do good, but they're not going to be these, tear everything up and make everyone cry kind of moments.
I think that Captain America and Thor will do better than their first installments. Mm-hmm. but I don't think that you're going to see these movies hit billions of dollars worldwide.
Okay. I think that's a fair guess. I think you're right about that.
If they can make the second movies as good as and again, the second Iron Man movie wasn't, awesome, but it was still, I don't know, it was there enough to get people's interest.
It's okay.
By the third movie, if they get that far with those, then yeah, they could do some pretty awesome things with it.
Yeah, I'm excited about all
But
of
I don't think you're going to see billions of dollars made out of Winter Soldier or Thor.
What's the Thor subtitle?
Neverwinter Nights or whatever it is.
Something dark, land, world.
Yeah, the Dark World.
The Dark World, that's it.
Yeah.
Neverwinter Nights. That's it. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes. And hopefully that all works out. I think Thor is banking on Loki being a big draw. I really do.
Oh, yeah. Because there's a lot of people, boys and girls, that are in love with him.
People like Loki. He's everyone's favorite villain currently.
Yep.
All right. Well, there you go. There's that. Let's talk real quick about, we got an interesting thing going on. Writer Jim Zub. We've had him on the show before.
Yeah.
Jim Zubkovich. He's the Skull Kickers dude, writes that comic and does a great job. And he also just has a lot to say. He's been on the show before. We pulled him in once and had a little chat. He tackles the burning question of why there are so few Canadian superheroes. He says, we don't have a long-standing superhero tradition in our country. Why don't we have a long-standing focal point character people recognize, like Captain Canuck? He even says, but the average person on the street doesn't even know who that is, even in Canada. We're not a country galvanized by heavy-duty patriotic pride that lends itself to Superman, Captain America, or even Batman for that matter. We don't have the kind of rampart crime that needs a heroic symbol to fight back against.
Ooh, we're Canada. We're safe.
Yeah, I think that's
basically what he's saying.
That is kind of what he's saying. But then it occurred to me, I really didn't know too many. I mean, none of them jumped to my mind, and none of them of the level, or the iconic level of, say, Batman or Superman. I mean, in Europe, you think of Judge Dredd, and you think of, I can't think, Union Jack, I guess.
Yeah, Captain Britain.
Sure.
But those, again, and it's a little bit weird, and it kind of creates this weirdness for us as comic book fans and readers and people that work in the industry. We're using an American entertainment form and injecting these characters into these different countries and saying that's where their origins are.
Right.
And, you look at Captain or Alpha Flight, for example, from Marvel. I don't think a Canadian publisher started them, and then they came down to the lower, 48.
Right.
This is something that we pushed forward and say, here, Canada, here are some superheroes for you.
You're right. But the Alpha Flight thing, that's Canadian. That's a bunch of, but we exported that, or we basically said, here's where they are.
Well, Wolverine is the same way, and Deadpool is the same way.
Yeah, that's right.
Wolverine is probably one of the most recognized Canadian superheroes, although I bet if you did a poll of people on the street, they wouldn't know that he's Canadian.
Oh, I think most people have no idea.
Yeah,
not
they would say
moviegoers. Yeah, moviegoers. Yeah, they go, yeah, he's from Australia.
I saw him in that movie with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. So there's Canada Jack. Tell me about that guy. Who's that?
No idea.
All right. There's Johnny Canuck.
So Nelvana of the Northern Lights, Canada Jack, and Johnny Canuck are the first three Canadian superheroes, actually done by Canadian publishers back in the 1940s.
All right.
I have no idea where they've gone since then. They probably died out probably about the mid 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, Silver Age stuff. Okay, let me ask. So that's interesting because it seems like maybe those were the buds of the same buds we had growing here, and it was around the same time, the 40s.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the difference is. Perhaps it is quite literally winning a world war and being the primary superpower that was responsible, or at least visibly the ones who won it, the ones that dropped bombs on Japan, the ones that walked away victorious, the one that beat the Nazi scourge. Did that give us a bunch of fuel to say our heroes can do anything and we are amazing? And is that where all that sort of gumption comes from? Because at that point, what did they have to say? This is not a knock against Canada. This is more a knock against us.
Yeah,
because we get all we get all buffed up with whatever we think we are.
Right.
But in Canada, they didn't really have any of that to lean on or point to. Or again, in Batman's case, you don't have a big city so riddled with crime that you got to have a guy running around at night taking people out.
Right.
I don't know. That's a really interesting thing to me.
I can really see Jim Zub's point in this is that we really don't have anything that we have to rally around to create these superheroes from.
Right.
And so I can really see that. But to say that there aren't any Canadian-based superheroes, and that's what I should point this as, not they're based in Canada.
Yeah, and not transplants that we thought up and things like that.
Well,
Like-
no, in the case of Wolverine and Alpha Flight, we transplanted them up there and said that's where they're from.
Yeah, we stuck them there.
Deadpool, Scott Pilgrim is the same way, and I don't know if you'd count him as a superhero, but certainly got a lot of popularity from being a Canadian kid. And
My kids
depending
do.
on how you view the adventures of Scott Pilgrim, he could be considered a superhero.
Absolutely. Joel Schuster, creator of Superman, born in Canada, yeah?
Exactly. So there you go.
All right. The
So
Schusters.
Canada has created a recognizable superhero.
Long line of Schusters up there from Canada.
Yeah.
Good job, everybody up there. All right. Well, some of our Canadian listeners I know are going to have thoughts and some things to say about this, so please email us and give us your thoughts. We'd love to hear them. Our email, as always, is comicdorks@gmail.com.
You're going to tune in on them and persuade them to change their mind.
You must be insane.
Get some quick news to get out of the way. Doctor Who's name was released into the wild early. I actually first saw this on your site at majorspoilers.com. Also, Tom Merritt brought it up on a segment he did for TMS. It's kind of a mess. Amazon did a kind of an early leak of DVDs that contained spoilers about the new name before the airing of the finale, right?
Yeah, so the finale airs this weekend, May 18th, here in the United States and in England on the BBC.
Yeah.
But I guess 1,000 copies got shipped early from Amazon that included the season finale that supposedly has that big reveal. And the BBC has been working overtime to try to keep people from spoiling too much about that episode.
I'm still in catch-up mode, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm kind of that way too. It depends on. I mean, there was a time when there was like a week or two between releases between BBC and BBC America,
Yeah.
and I know people were torrenting the heck out of Doctor Who then. And then suddenly they said, "Oh, we're releasing everything on the same day in both countries," and suddenly the interest in torrenting those episodes went down quite a bit.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Just because people were wanting to have those spoilers. So from what I've read over the last couple of days, BBC is working overtime trying to shut down every torrent it finds for this Doctor Who season 7 part B.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing for people to be wary of is I know someone who actually did do this, and a lot of those torrent files are just riddled with viruses and all that other stuff.
As
that
always, yeah.
doesn't work on a Mac, but if you're a PC user, you got to be aware of
Yeah,
that.
either way. And the Mac people doing it are just disappointed because they get some crappy file or something.
Yeah.
What else? Let's see. DC cancels more titles in the new 52. We knew some of these are coming. Give us a smattering of what got cut.
Dial H for Hero is cut, as is Ravengers, I think, is one of the other ones. I don't have the full list up here, but there were like 3 or 4 books that were getting the axe. Legion of Superheroes is probably the biggest one that everybody is disappointed in. So they are all hitting their final issues in August.
I was really hoping they'd cut Detective Comics. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We still can't figure out how Hawkman is still going on.
Oh yeah, Hawkman's still a thing, isn't it?
Not
I'm telling
really.
you though, that one those graphic novels I had in the 80s by whoever the heck it was, I've got them packed away somewhere. Man,
The Kuberts.
I think so.
Yeah.
Man, I love those. It's really into those. So I don't know.
Are you talking Hawk World? That
Hawk
stuff?
World, yeah.
Okay.
Was that Kubert?
Yeah.
Oh, well, at the time I just knew that I loved it and I read it over and over and I couldn't get enough of it. It was also the most painterly book I'd ever read.
Oh yeah.
At the time, and it was great. But then the series that it led into was trash.
Yeah. I think that was Hawk World.
Yeah, I think you're right. It
was the one that it led into. But yeah, they had that series in the 80s and a couple of prestige format books.
Yes, and it reminded me, and they were thick and just beautiful, and I've kept them in great condition. But they reminded me of playing chess with pewter or like fine metal, and then being handed a plastic chess piece when I got the actual series. The month was just crap.
Yeah.
Kevin Keller, Archie Comics, gets GLAAD Media Award because they got the gays in there now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Kevin Keller has been a huge character since his release.
Yeah.
And if I'm nothing against Kevin Keller as a character, but he has done a lot. And I don't know if it's, Archie decided to have a different approach to how they deal with social issues, but they have had over the last couple of years some really cool social issue type situations come up. Where they can examine these characters and in relation to some of these bigger things going on, such as Kevin Keller being gay. They did the whole not after Archie, but it was basically Archie took a walk in the woods and he could go left, and we looked at his life marrying Veronica, and then we back up and we take a look at the taking the right fork and see what it was like marrying Betty and seeing the consequences of all this. And it's really fascinating. And they're just doing some really cool stuff over at Archie Comics.
It's really interesting that they're doing any of this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because when I was a kid, well, I mean, maybe I didn't appreciate it, but back in the day, it didn't seem like this comic was all that big a deal. It was just kind of silly and weird.
No, and they've been doing a lot of cool things. They did the Archie meets Kiss team up not too long ago. They've got a really cool series, which I'm looking forward to. I think it comes out this October, which is the perfect time. Archie Zombies. Yeah. And the teaser art that we've seen for that looks really gruesome and gritty, kind of along the lines of creepy comics from back in the Silver Age type stuff. And if they do that in this book, I'm for sure plunking down my money every week.
I love
but
that they're
Archie
doing that. That's so cool.
They've become very progressive, and they do it, very quietly, and don't make a big to-do out of it. Well, to an extent, they don't make a big to-do. But then they just get all these accolades, like the GLAAD Media Award for Kevin Keller. For
Gay and Lesbian Attributed Areola Doorknob. I don't know what that stands for.
You're going to get them to jump all over you now.
Well, I know
apologize
it means,
in advance.
I know it means a thing. I just can't remember the acronym. I don't think doorknob's part of it.
No.
Marvel Big Hero 6 gets animated treatment from Disney. This is not Pixar. This is Disney Animation Studios.
Yes.
We've got a little teaser for it, although it doesn't really show you much other than...
It shows you the world of San Fran, Tokyo.
Yeah, which is cool.
And it looks wonderful.
Yeah, that's an awesome mashup right there.
It looks like a cross between Akira and Totoro and Spirited Away. That's kind of how the world looks. So if you can kind of mash all those together, that's kind of what we're seeing in the Big Hero 6.
Not currently a title in comics. Like, you can't go buy a Big Hero 6 comic on the shelves right now for a monthly.
No, it's not currently month to month, but some of the characters pop up here and there.
Yeah, so that's something to watch for. Look for that.
Yep.
Also, more Marvel properties returning to Marvel. We all wish it was X-Men and Spider-Man, but it's not.
No, it's Daredevil, Ghost Rider, and bits and pieces of Fantastic Four and Punisher come back to the House of Mouse.
I like the sound of all of that. You had mentioned previously, I think on TMS, that you felt like it was pretty unlikely that Punisher would get the gritty treatment at all because Disney isn't doing that now.
Yeah, I had talked with a former producer over at Disney, and she was like, "Oh no, there's no way that you're going to get a Punisher Max type story." There was a great little short subject, you can still find it online, of Punisher going to the laundromat and just killing the crap out of people. Mm-hmm. There's no way that Disney's going to do something like that, which is a shame because when you think about these street level characters like Punisher and Daredevil, you have the opportunity to do some really cool stuff. And when they were frantically trying to get the new Daredevil movie off the ground, they were kind of wanting to set it in kind of a 70s era crime riddled situation where they were going to get a little rough and tough and a little bit more in your face than what they'd done in the previous Daredevil movie. Almost like, I don't know if you've ever read, and you probably have, the Frank Miller Daredevil.
Yeah, it's fantastic. One of the best books ever written.
Yeah, so they were kind of, I think, going in that direction. I don't know if Disney would allow them to do that because of the violence, just the violence that, heads blowing up and people getting teeth knocked across the screen and that kind of stuff.
That's a violent book, yeah.
It'd be a perfect Tarantino
can you imagine?
Vehicle, but certainly not something I think Disney wants to touch.
And more to that point, well, two things. I think Tarantino's long overdue for a superhero story. It can be something he makes up. I don't care. But we need that. His voice needs to be had here. It'll feel like some weird indie comic he got from Boom Studios that no one bought. It'll be awesome. That, and also, I would argue, I know it seems a little bit weird, but I don't think he's aged that much in terms of his looks, and his stock is on the rise. I think you get Affleck back. Affleck, rather, not Affleck. Don't get the insurance company. You get Ben Affleck back to play lead dude. I would not actually have kind of a problem with that. I'm one of the few people that sort of likes the Daredevil movie. I think it's all right.
And again, I've said it before, and I'll say it again for people who've not heard me say this. Go get the director's cut of Daredevil, and it plays so much better and makes a more complete story than the theatrical release.
Yep. I'm a big fan of that.
It's almost night and day, so go check it out.
Yeah, that and Kingdom of Heaven by Ridley Scott. It's not related to comics, but it is one of the best movies ever made, and the theatrical run is garbage.
Yeah,
so,
and to go one step further, if people really want to see how you can edit a film, go get the Criterion Collections Brazil. It's a 5-disc set that shows you the theatrical, the television, Director's Cut 1, Director's Cut 2, and something else. Oh, one called The Happy Ending.
Oh, really?
Not the happy ending that you're thinking, but
no. I don't want that.
But it's like 5 different versions of the movie cut together.
Let's get that lady from Benson in it, doesn't it? I think she's in it.
Yes.
I can't think of her name.
Yep.
All right. So there you go. There's your big stuff going on around the week. Let's talk about a few books we're reading.
Wait a minute. Don't leave me here alone. I'll talk. I'll tell you everything I know.
All right. So tell me, I'll tell you what I've been reading. You were, and I've really focused in on one series because I ended up liking it so much. You were dead to nuts on the Hawkeye stuff that's coming out right now.
Oh, well, it's not just me, because it took me 4 issues before I finally listened. Matthew, who writes over at Major Spoilers, was just since the beginning going, "This is so good. Everybody needs to read it. This is so good." And every time the new issue came out, I was like, yeah. This is just Matthew,
sure,
going on and on and on. And so finally, I had the chance to read it, and I read all 4 issues. And I was like, "Holy crap, this is awesome!"
It's really, really good. I'm really surprised. Not that I didn't trust your opinion, because I did. I always do, and that's why I bought it. But I first saw the art, and I saw the attempt to. It looked like it was a big attempt to distance itself from the movie Hawkeye.
Oh yeah.
Or even traditional comic book Hawkeye. It was like this whole third tier of Hawkeye approach, and I love it. I love how it looks, how it feels, how it flows. I love the humor. The writing's amazing. I think the action's really good. I love how they treat the different arrow types and stuff, like the way that they kind of focus in on what those things can do, and they do it in the middle of major action sequences. I like how flashbacks lead into real time.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's really, really good, and I got completely hooked, and I'm now pining for new. I think
stuff. The new issue comes out next week.
Next Wednesday.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right. So anyway, that's where I've been spending most of my free comic book reading time, which hasn't been a ton, but and then a few monthlies that I still get here and there I've been reading, which I've talked about before, so I won't bore people with it. But yes, please run, not walk, but run and get your copies of Hawkeye either through your local comic book shop or Comixology, which is where I picked them up. And I really can't recommend that series enough. That's really good. And there is a moment in there. You'll know the one. And this is something I do not want to spoil, but when he is leaping across the room trying to get out of five, so people are shooting at him.
Oh, yeah.
And they decide to cover his junk.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I won't destroy what that is. You just need to see it. I cannot tell you the last time a visual gag in a comic. I mean, writing will make me laugh if it's good writing, but it is rare when a visual gag in a comic will actually, I may smile, I may grin, but I rarely laugh. I laughed at that for a good couple of minutes.
There's something similar, and it's a series that you can probably, I think it's still available in Comixology. I don't know how you feel about Power Girl.
Sure, right? Yeah, another our friend
DC Comics. She's Superman's cousin from another dimension.
Sure, she's cool.
There was a series a few years ago written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti with art by Amanda Conner, and I think it ran 12 issues. It's really, really good. And first of all, Amanda Conner's art is just spectacular. There are times because Power Girl has just big breasts and they don't shy away from that in the series, and there are moments like that Hawkeye series where she's walking around nude in her apartment and they just strategically place things in the right spot that gives you just a little bit of what's going on, but it's really wonderful, and it's a good series, and it's a good read, and it's got good characters and everything in it, so you might want to go check that out.
They know how to be funny with stuff. It's like that Austin Powers scene. It works like that.
Well, there's also another. I know on FilmSack you guys have done Zardos.
We did.
There is a character that's based on Zardos in that series.
Are you kidding?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I mean, seriously, if you want to go pick up just another kind of fun book, go pick up the Justin Palmiotti and Gray Connor run on Power Girl.
Okay, I'm sold. That sounds great.
Yeah, I think it's 12 issues. So you're not going into a big commitment, but it's really worth the read.
For those not familiar with Zardoz, here's a wake up call.
The penis is evil.
There you go. The penis is evil. Take that. Stephen, what are you reading?
I am kind of in the same boat as you with the school year wrapping up and finals this week and graduation this week, and I have not had a chance to really sit down and enjoy comic books. But what we're doing over at Major Spoilers right now on the podcast is we are taking a look at newspaper strips. It's newspaper strip month at Major Spoilers. And so we started a couple of weeks ago with Bloom County, the complete series, 1980 to 1982. Then just this past week, we did the complete Peanuts, 1950 to 1952. And then we're looking at the first volume of Calvin and Hobbes. And then the last week of the month will either be Pogo or Little Abner or something like that. But this is just a fun chance for us to go back and look and see how a strip developed and evolved. And I kind of wish Kurtz was here, because I was going to tell him, hey, look, man, I'm actually giving some praise to Peanuts and Charles Schulz. The 1950 to 52, and actually probably through 54, maybe 1960, awesome Peanuts stuff going on in the funny pages. Bloom County, the collection that they have, it's IDW put out this, I think it's 4 or 5 volume set. It covers all 10 years that Bloom County was out there. Or no, it ran until 2000 maybe. I forget. But it's got the complete Bloom County, these nice big hardbound volumes.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is they do a strip a page, and you can actually get the complete Bloom County through Comixology. But then occasionally, Berkeley breathed or however you say his name.
I thought it was Breathed.
Breathed.
I thought
he goes in and he puts annotations in there saying, hey, here's where I started to discover what this strip was about. Here's the first issue of this. And then because Bloom County was so tied to current events, occasionally he'd go in and put annotations to tell you, well, who was, Bagan, or who was in charge of Reagan's press office at this time. He'll put all that in there because it ties into the joke. And so it's really, really well done. The complete Peanuts 1950 to 1952, this is the first volume from Fantagraphics, and they went in and they're doing a complete run as well. They're already up to 20 volumes now, and I think they've got another 10 volumes to go if they go all the way up to the end of that series.
Wow.
But again, you're seeing the evolution of Peanuts from just these 3 little kids to this massive cast and style.
You see where Snoopy starts walking upright. And, all that.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then I can't wait till next week, Calvin and Hobbes. It's just my all-time favorite comic strip.
Same.
Oh, I just love what Watterson does. And actually the discussion that we'll be talking about a little bit more is having little kids, out of the mouth of babes kind of situation. Bloom County, Peanuts, and Calvin and Hobbes are all kind of like this, where you have these young characters saying really deep, meaningful things, and it's funny because it's coming out of kids' mouths, but it's also really deep too. So
right.
that's what's really kind of interesting about that. So yeah, I've been reading years and years and years worth of comic strips over the last couple of weeks.
That's awesome.
And I just love it. So go check them out. Of course, everyone, if you haven't, the complete Calvin and Hobbes, it's going to break your back. It's about a 50-pound, 60-pound collection.
I have that too. It's huge and heavy, and I don't even know where I'm keeping it right now. It's so big.
Yeah, but the Bloom County and the complete Peanuts also really nice hardbound things, and that's what I'm kind of doing lately. Is as I'm still buying stuff in digital format and occasional things in print, I'm really looking at not trade waiting for the paperback trade, but trade waiting for the omnibus editions. These huge hardback bound collections of the entire series. Watchmen has done this, Hellboy does this, and if you guys can get them and afford them, because they are rather expensive, they're worth picking up.
Well, there you go.
for you, Scott, as an artist, I'll give you another recommendation. And again, they're really expensive, but go look. IDW puts these out as well, and they work with the various publishers. They put out these artist editions. So if you want to go and find, the Simonson's run on Thor, they've got a huge bound book, but instead of going in and showing you all the final presentation as you would have seen in a normal comic book, you're looking at the black and white blue boards of the original, how it was drawn. So if there's something that was whited out, you can actually see the whiteout of where they covered stuff up, or if they had to cut out a word and replace it with a different word, you can see where that's laid on in the page. You can oftentimes see the original pencil work underneath the ink. And for someone who's really wanting to study an artist, these are really nice collections.
Yeah. Well, I love that kind of crap. So
they're expensive though. They're like $150, $200 bucks a book.
Yeah, those aren't going to be cheap, but
worth it.
I think that stuff's worth it, and that is stuff to be cultivated. So that's a fine thing to get and pay for, I believe. That's the kind of stuff. It's the kind of stuff in this digital age I think people are still going to want to get.
Oh yeah.
Big old fat books. Like I've got the complete Far Side collection, and they're also in giant fat heavy books. And I just treasure those things. I mean, those are probably they're really 3 major influences on me as I grew up. It was Mad Magazine, particularly Mort Drucker. So anything Mad Magazine related, I just pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I still do. And Mort Drucker is just a national treasure. And the minute he dies, it's going to be a sad day for me. And then Calvin and Hobbes, enormous impression, enormous impact on me. And then thirdly, Far Side. Far Side probably has more to do with my particular sense of humor than anything else I do.
Yeah.
And having those three things in these kinds of really nice bound copies is a real treat around here.
And the other thing is, because these are bound so well, these are things that I'm happy to hold on to, because I know that it's something I'll be happy to pass on to my kids.
Yep.
I know that sounds a little weird, as opposed to, here's a long box full of comics. Don't ever touch these, kids. Hey, kids, here's some hardbound volumes that I want you to sit down on a Sunday afternoon and just flip through these and read and laugh and giggle and have fun with it. And it's something that, if treated well, because they're solidly built, that maybe even the grandkids someday would be reading these.
Yeah, I agree. No, this is fine stuff to pass down. All right, well, let's find out what you guys are passing down in your emails.
If we should fail, our volunteer will be dead within minutes.
Huh?
Oh, Scott Kurtz at the end.
Huh?
Yeah, he's really here. He's here with us in spirit. Let's see. Where the hell was I? I got lost. Oh, here we go. Emails. Got a couple of these.
Okay.
First one from Aaron S. says, just got a Marvel Unlimited subscription and just been reading the Secret Wars event from 1984, and I find myself loving old, cheesy, campy stories like that. My question is, do you guys have any favorite stories from the 70s or 80s that you'd like to recommend? Thanks, Aaron S. Oh, boy. See, I think, 80s era event level storylines that they were doing kind of all turned me off.
Yeah.
I was really into like Harvey Picar then, and like weird undergroundy. It's the same way I am now with indies. I love freaking indie titles that no one's heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I kind of really got into that then. I respected and liked some of the mainstream stuff. I've talked about those Hawk World books I have.
Right.
And I still think that stuff was good. I really like the Adam Strange stuff that was going on in the 80s.
The Adam Strange was the same way the Kuberts did that, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. I have that whole collection someplace, but for the most part, I can't really think of a storyline, like a specific
from the
thing.
70s, 80s. There's so much, and I'd have to go back and look at dates, but Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut, the Spider-Man issue that was in. The Death of Gwen Stacy obviously is in that. Maybe a little bit earlier than the 70s. I'd have to go back and look at an exact date. But you're kind of finding those kind of big mega stories going on that are defining characters. Maybe not so much as event stories.
Right. Like today, it's like, Civil War, freaking multiple Earths or whatever the hell that is in DC. What's it called? The Battle for Infinite Earths or whatever.
Right. Well, the Crisis on Infinite Earths was right at the mid 80s. So if you're looking for something that is going to totally warp your mind if you don't know anything about DC Comics, Crisis on Infinite Earths, you saw the multiverse collapse, you saw the death of Supergirl, you saw the death of so many characters. It's a really good series to read, but I'm afraid that it's not very campy. Yeah. But it's also got every single character in the DC universe thrown in there where your head's going to spin.
That was a big whoop back in the day.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
The night Gwen Stacy died, Amazing Spider-Man 121, 122, that was in June and July of 1973.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Are the Crisis of Infinite Earths, is that was that novelization as well? They did a book version of that.
I think they did a book version of that. I've not read it.
I'm pretty sure I have someplace on some hard drive. I think I have like audiobook versions of that.
There is an audio drama that has been done, not an audio book adaptation, but they've done audio dramas of several of the DC events from, the mid 2000s on.
That might be what I have.
Yeah.
I got something that was a little too cheesy at the time, although I wouldn't mind checking it out again. But
speaking of cheesy and audio dramas, going back to the Canadian bit real quick. Right. Decoder Ring Theater. I don't know if anybody listens to that podcast.
No, but I've heard good things.
But they have a series called Red Panda Adventures that their central character is a Shadow Green Hornet / Batman type character who operates in Montreal, I want to say. One of those two. I forget the exact.
Montreal's a good town.
But he's up in Canada, and it's set in the 1930s and 40s. So
that's cool.
Got that going on.
What's their production value on their stuff like? Is it meant to sound old timey, or do they not do that, or what's the?
In some places they do, but it's pretty clean and clear audio. They've got some good sound effects. I would say the only thing, and I don't want people to jump all over me, they use the same voices, the same actor for a lot of different voices, so sometimes it gets a little confusing there, or you can hear that, it's that actor doing that part as well.
Oh, in the same story, you mean?
Yeah, in the same story.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a little bit of a drawback, but hey, they're still engaging and engrossing stories. So
I think
if
it's
you
cool.
got time, go check that out.
I think it's really cool that they're even there doing it.
Some other 70s and 80s stuff. You know what? Go check out that Star Wars stuff that Marvel was doing early on after the first movie came out.
Oh, yeah, I have those too. Those are great.
And the Conan black and whites that Marvel was doing. The oversized Conan's issues.
Love Conan black and
whites.
Yeah. Oh, I was really into that. Not just because there were sometimes boobs. But
because there were.
Because there were plenty of boobs. But it was also just something about... There's a purity in black and in ink that I just... I miss sometimes in comics today. There isn't much that are doing that. I mean, Walking Dead's a good example of one that is, but
right.
They also
the Wrath of the Spectre is another one from the 70s. It's really good. If you've read or if you've seen the animated shorts that DC has put out, they did a Spectre piece that's very much set in the 70s, and it's borrowing heavily from the Wrath of the Spectre storyline that ran in Adventure Comics back in the 70s. They've collected that into a trade. If you're looking to just go buy some bunch of stories from various time periods, both Marvel and DC and Dark Horse have all released these like phone book size paper. You know, the paper is really super thin, black and white editions that you can get like 500 pages for $19.95 or something like this. They're called showcase editions from DC. I forget what the Marvel calls them, but that's a good way to just go and pick up a bunch of stories if you're not concerned about color, because they're all printed in black and white. They're really good.
Yeah, that's great. Very cool. Final email from Neil. Neil writes in, says, hey guys, just listened to the latest show. Had a small suggestion for the guy looking for an easy jump back into comics. And you guys, if you fancy. Must be from Britain. Oh, I know he is, because what he says later. Can I throw a suggestion for Sinister Dexter or Slain from the 2000 AD stable? I don't know what these are. Being from the UK, I grew up through the 70s and 80s primarily with these very early boys comics, Warlord, Valiant, Eagle, and the like, so naturally drifted to the clutches of 2000 AD with Judge Dredd top of the list, but Sinister Dexter, Slain, and Nikolai Dante close runners-up. I've not heard of any of those except Judge Dredd, so that's interesting. For sci-fi-ish stuff, Sinister Dexter is a very easy premise to pick up on, assassins with a code of honor, but the blend of tight-packed story, action, and humor really are a treat. The stories range from quick one-page strip to full-blown multi-issue epics. Good pickup point is in the second collection edition called Gunshark Vacation. There are a bunch of other collected editions available on an app on app in iTunes to the 2000 AD store when there are a bunch of back issues or something. Where there are a bunch of back issues. Anyway, this is from Neil, and that sounds interesting to me at the very least. I like British comics. I think there's some interesting crap.
Yeah. There's some really cool stuff, and just European comics in general.
Yeah.
The Manara stuff is really, really cool. Also very, very dirty at times.
Oh, yeah.
If people want to pick out kind of a very noir piece, they should go check out Black Sad. And then if you can, go get the first run of Judge Dredd from 2000 AD. I think it's called, the Decimated Earth or something like that. We reviewed it before. It's really, really good.
I still need to see
spots.
That. I still need to see that movie. I keep hearing good things
Scott,
about
you gotta
that.
go watch that
I
movie.
know.
It's
I hear it's
really, really good.
I hear it's rad.
Yeah, it really is.
It's got Dr. McCoy in there.
Yeah, it is really good. You'll enjoy it.
All right. I finally get to this. Maybe this weekend or something.
Yes, this weekend. Make it your point.
All right. It's my goal this weekend. Also, I got to see Star Trek tomorrow, so that'll be fun. And we'll share, of course, probably our thoughts on some of that and more in the next episode of the show. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a show. Let's get the hell out of here. We miss Mark and Scott, but I'm sure they'll be back next time.
Boo to
Good
them.
luck both to them. Yeah, apparently I did get a text here just briefly a minute ago from Scott saying if someone came in town, they got all wrapped up in something and he totally forgot.
No, that's okay.
So we'll don't worry, we'll get everybody back in the chair. But Steven, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you.
Well,
sir.
thank you, Scott. Yeah, lots of fun.
What is going on in your life that you would like the folks to know about outside the show?
I have no life outside the show.
This is it.
No major spoilers. We're really busy with that. We're kicking up another secret podcast. We're recording something this weekend. Critical Hit is getting rave reviews as always there on the Frog Pants Network.
Yeah,
as is Munchkin Land. We've given away some cool Munchkin stuff over the last couple of weeks, and I'll give people a little teaser of what is to come. In the next couple of episodes, we actually don't play Munchkin.
What?
Yeah, but it's still a lot of fun. So people will go check that out over in the Frog Pants Network master feed. Or
absolutely, the Ultra Feed or whatever it's called.
Ultra Feed, yeah.
Just search for Frog Pants on iTunes. You'll find it. And it's also on frogpants.com. And I would just like to say, one of the reasons I'm so excited about Nerdtacular this year and those who are coming is that I just got word from some friends at Cryptozoic that they're going to send a bunch of board games. I know you're bringing some of your favorite stuff.
Yep.
I think Steve Jackson's going to send a bunch of extra copies of things.
Oh, that would be wonderful if they did.
Yeah, we got a bunch of things going on that should ensure some great tabletop time. And the best part is Steven and his crew are going to be there. And I don't know if you'd rather play with anyone on this earth than these guys. These guys know their business.
Yeah, we'll try to spread out so that we can play with as many people as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So looking forward to that in July. I wish I could tell you people there are more tickets, but right now there are none unless we decide to open up another tier. But they have sold out.
That's awesome.
It is a lot earlier than usual. So,
what is it, like 10,000 tickets sold?
Yeah. Well, maybe I don't wish. I mean, we cap it at about 600 people because we want it to be small enough where everyone can really hang out and meet each other and not so crowded that it just becomes any other con. So it's always this balance.
But what happens if people want to participate somehow in Nerdtacular, Scott, and they're not able to go because there are no tickets?
Well, they can watch a live stream of all the panels and the bigger stuff that's happening on stage. Sadly, they won't be able to really stream much in the way of me and you playing a board game together.
Sure.
Which is too bad because I'm sure that's where all the entertainment will lie. But yeah, there are ways they'll be able to watch all of that. All this stuff will be at frogpants.com and, of course, nerdtacular.com and on Twitter and everywhere.
Ooh, I cannot wait.
Yeah, watch for the hashtag Nerdtacular. People are trying to use a shortened one, but it's hard to remember. So just Nerdtacular is the hashtag.
Or whatever it is.
Indeed. Also, in the meantime, if you'd like to listen to more great shows like this, go to frogpants.com. And as always, you can find actually our T-shirt. We have a T-shirt for sale now at /loot.com. You can go there. It'll support us and support them and support everybody. If you buy a T-shirt at /loot.com, other Frog Pants show stuff there as well. On the web, you'll find us at comicdorks.com. You can email us, comicdorks@gmail.com, and on Twitter, we are at comicdorks. You can also find Steven at Major Spoilers, and you can find me at Scott Johnson. More great shows, again, like this at frogpants.com. That's going to do it for us, for me, for Steven, and for Scott, and for Mark. We'll see you next time. Bye, Steven.
Bye-bye.
Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.